side down. ఇప్పుడు సరిగా ఉంది కదా? జూమ్ అవుట్ చేయాలా? ఇది ఫుల్ అది మ్యాక్సిమం అయితే జూమ్ చేస్తాం. ఫుల్ ఇది ఫుల్. ఓకే యా అది మెల్లిగా పెరుగుతుంది. ఎంత వస్తే అంత అంతే. ఓకే అది స్టెప్ స్టార్ట్ చేయాలనుకుంటే అప్పుడు ఆ కంప్యూటర్లో గోలై చేయాలి అంతే. ఓకే ఈజ్ ఆల్రెడీ లైవ్ ఇన్ ఫీడోకాస్ట్ కదా. ఫేస్బుక్లో గో లైవ్ అవుతుంది. అది చేస్తా. అదే వైట్లో ఉన్నారు. Policy, environmental policy.
Hello. Hello and good afternoon to everyone on this very nice change of weather right outside, getting into fall. Feels nice. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time. And congratulations. I think the people are coming in. I'll give it a minute. Congratulations to all of you because you have now shown your willingness to go green in a very small way, right? You're taking your time and trying to come here and learn something about being green. So congratulations to you guys on taking that first step. On behalf of Green Cell team here in Atlanta, welcome all of you for coming in. We are a voluntary group, bunch of volunteers essentially, trying to raise awareness about all human-created environmental issues. You saw a few pictures here which kind of tells us, what we are creating of our own world. We are affecting our air, water and soil in many different ways. So, without taking too much of your time, we think we'll get started. We are 5 minutes behind schedule. So I'll let our MC for the afternoon, Geeta, take over. So thank you very much and welcome again.
Thanks, Sandesh. Welcome again to all of you to this first event that Green Cell is conducting. This is a fledgling organization that we have here, completely run by volunteers. It's all a voluntary effort. Originally it started with Pankaj and Sandesh, who came up with this thought process of creating an awareness in the larger group for us all to be conscious and take some certainly definitive steps towards going green. However small our steps may be, it's important that we all make these steps collectively, and in the larger scheme of things, it will make a difference. So that's basically what and it's interesting because I joined them a little earlier this year, in March of this year, and it's been an exhilarating ride because we have seen that all our efforts have touched several lives. A lot of people are on that brink of wanting to make the change, not knowing that they can actually do it themselves, not knowing how to do it, not really understanding what exactly they can do. And so we have reached out in several different ways, which I'll talk about as we go along in the afternoon. This is our first effort of conducting a workshop, and I'm glad to see the registrations. We had an overwhelming response, and we are still hoping that the same response is seen here by the physical presence of people here today. It's trickling in, and I hope the numbers swell. Certainly glad to have all of you here. The first couple of ground rules, during the sessions, we have 4 sessions planned today. We've got some very learned people in their respective fields especially, who are willing to share their time and knowledge with us pro bono. We're all here learning so much from what they have to share. We have a session on composting. We have a session on growing your own food. We have one which is going to talk about making your own cleaners, non-toxic home cleaners. And finally, we're closing with a session that will be on recycling right. Recycling is always a mystery. We never know whether we are recycling, what exactly we're doing, what should be done, what should not be done. And hopefully some of those things will be clarified. We have a couple of tables organized at the back, which I'll tell you later. The other efforts that Green Cell as a team is pulling together. We started in January, and we've come up a long way till now. We work with several organizations, some of the other Indian organizations like the Maharashtra Mandal, that's one of our big organizations, the Tamil Sangam, and help them to take small steps in going green. And this is one of the biggest efforts we're trying to do. We have methods in which each one of us can go home with an understanding of how we can go green. Now, the ground rules will be, as usual, turn off your cell phones. Appreciate you can set your cell phones on vibrate or on silent, especially when the speakers are, giving us their wisdom, sharing with us their know. And while the speakers are talking, if you cannot walk in and out of the hall, that would be appreciated. I'm sure all of you would have questions. There is going to be some time allocated after every speaker for the question and answers. If the time is not enough, or if you do understand that you have other questions for us, as Green Cell, you want to join our efforts, our email is greencellatl@gmail.com. We have it on the poster boards at the back. Take a picture. We're not sending any pamphlets. Our way of reducing usage of paper. And you can also reach out to any volunteer who has the Green Cell badge, and we'll be more than willing to connect with you after the event and work with you. Today specifically, I'm very happy to announce that we have Angelica Couch, who's our state representative for the District 50, Georgia, with us to help to come and deliver the keynote address for us. I'm very happy, Angelica, that you were able to make time and join us today. She is an immigrant, like most of us are, some of us are at least, and she's a mother and a former educator. She currently serves on a couple of committees like the Higher Education, Small Business, the Natural Resources and Environment Committees in Georgia. I now request Angelica to come up and deliver the keynote address for us.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Again, my name is Angelica Couch, and I'm the state representative for House District 50, which is Johns Creek, just on the other side of McGuinness Ferry. This is my first legislative session. 2019 was my first legislative session. And as an immigrant and a newcomer to politics, I can tell you it is quite a learning experience. I met Sandesh and the group Greencell during an event at the International Festival in Johns Creek, and immediately picked up on their message, because I think what this group is trying to do is so important for the health of our planet, and the encouragement that we all take a small part. It's really, we're not asking a lot from each other, we're just asking to do our little bit of share, and I think groups like Greencell just do a tremendous job in terms of citizen engagement. So I thank you very much for taking the effort, spending your time, and really spreading this important message. So as Gita said, I'm a member of the Natural Resource and Environment Committee, and in that position, we discuss a lot of environmental politics that come through the House. The one thing I learned, it is incredibly difficult to pass legislation. And just rolling back to the broader context when we talk about recycling, especially recycling policies. I don't know if you're all aware, but the peril of what the US is doing, and I'm originally in Germany, and I tell you what, Germans are recycling freaks. They recycle everything and anything, and we separate the German trash is separate into yellow bags. Most communities now have a composting bin, and what actually goes into the regular trash in Germany is just minimal. However, that doesn't mean that everything is grand in Germany, because a lot of the recycling trash, because it is separated, but it's not separated well enough, because the biggest issue with recycling, especially plastic, is contamination, gets shipped to Asia. So in the beginning, when we started the so-called yellow bags in Germany, you found a lot of them in big bags, in big piles, in landfills in Indonesia or somewhere else, which was actually not. So what happened is that everybody in Germany felt great. Yeah, we're recycling, we're doing great. And then when you looked at the real side of the picture, it was not so great. I assume it improved there. I mean, I moved to the US in 1997, so I have not the clearest picture. But every time I go to Germany, I'm kind of amused of how diligently and with German precision they separate their trash. Well, that is exactly what we're not doing in the US. And the reason is because I remember when I first moved to the US, I moved to Michigan, and there we separated recyclables into glass, into aluminum, into paper, and into plastics. Then China came into play as basically when we defined recyclables as a commodity. And China was the main consumer of that kind of commodity. And that worked for a while until China decided, you know what, we are the world's largest trash collector, and it's actually hurting our own economy and our own country, and they decided to stop that in 2018. I believe the Trump administration had something to do with this and the trade wars, but what happened then is that all of a sudden, within very short time, the US could no longer ship its recyclables to China. So very quickly they had to find other markets. So Vietnam took some, Malaysia took some, maybe Indonesia, but they very quickly ran into the same problem. So here we are. Who's going to take our recyclables? And one reason China said is we are no longer taking your recyclables because they are too contaminated. You know, we commingle, at least in Johns Creek, and I think in most counties, at least in Georgia and in the US now, we commingle recyclables, meaning we all throw them in one big bin and then leave it up to someone else to sort out this mess. And that worked when it was cheap, but now that we don't have like a consumer for that commingled trash, it's actually getting expensive. And what the US is now suffering from is what we lacked to do in the last 10 to 20 years, is building an infrastructure for recyclables. Because now we're at the point where recyclables actually cost money. We don't know what to do with this. We have a couple of counties and areas that already said, or recyclable companies that said we no longer take recyclables. I know there are counties that said, oh, we no longer recycle glass because it doesn't make us any money, it's too costly. So what happens when you take out items out of the commingled big trash bin, you have less and less value in that trash bin, becoming less and less value. And paper, just leaving paper in there doesn't make any sense because paper is the commodity with the least value. So we are actually running into big problems. What happened in the US is that recyclables landed up in landfills, again, where they were not supposed to be, but the trash has to go somewhere. We need to change our behavior, we need to change our policies, but that's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. I'm just a first-time legislator, and I went through one session, and it takes time and effort to change behavior, to change our political thinking, and to drive meaningful environmental policies or conservational policies. I give you another example, and I don't want to talk too long because I really would like to hear your input and answer as many questions as I can and as well as I can. Is we have a solid waste land trust fund in Georgia, and that was supposed to be let's say that was mainly built to what the question we needed to answer is what we're going to do with all these tires. You know, tires are a big issue. They are recyclable, but you know what, we don't want them in the landfills, and you see some tire piles here and there. So, and because we didn't want them in the landfills, we added a $1 fee to every tire, that new tire that we bought. It was supposed to go into recycling those tires and promoting like not just tire recycling, but other issues as well. So what happened is Georgia collected quite a lot of money. I think in 2017 it was almost over 7 million, but the money that we collected from it, that was never fully appropriated into recycling. So let's say, and I don't know the full amount, let's say we used $3 million for actually recycling tires and recycling tire efforts, and the rest went into anything else. And the reason is, in Georgia we have a political challenge. We cannot appropriate funds for a certain purpose. If we want to do that, we need a constitutional amendment in Georgia for the Georgia Constitution, and that needs a 2/3 majority. You can imagine those are very hard to get. So what the legislator did last year then, they basically adjusted the law to the facts, reducing the tire fee from $1 to 38 cents, and by just saying, hey, we are just reducing the fee to what is actually happening because we're only spending so much on actually tire recycling. So this is just cleaning up the legislation. The question now is, why did we do this, and why didn't we keep the money that we was already getting and actually using it for better purposes? And this is where actually I think public engagement becomes very important. When do laws in Georgia change? Either a legislator makes a suggestion and we in the House and Senate say, yeah, great law, we pass it, it only happens in very, very rare cases, because even with the most sensible laws, it actually usually takes like 2 or 3 legislative sessions to pass them, especially when there are different interest groups involved. And for example, in recycling, we have a very powerful beverage industry in Georgia, and everybody knows Coca-Cola, and they are actually trying the best they can to get back their bottles. They are very invested in recycling. And they want all their bottles back, and they're trying in their regard, I mean, they always have to hit their bottom line, so in their sense they are really trying to do the best they can into producing better bottles, like having more recyclable plastic in their plastic bottles, and things like this, having more natural So every year they come up with something new, but in the end the problem is still there. They're not getting back enough of their bottles. So I asked the representative from Coca-Cola, from the beverage industry, so let me ask you a question, because I lived in Michigan, and Michigan, they have a bottle deposit. I think there are only 10 states who actually have a bottle deposit, and I know in Europe we have a bottle deposit, and it works very well. As soon as you put a price on something, people get very sensitive about it. They're collected, and they put it back to the stores and bring it back to the stores. Has been working in Germany for years and years and years. It has its pros and cons. It is a little costly too, but in the end you get the plastic and the glass bottles back where you to the producer. And he said, you know what, one of the reasons is that the retailers don't like it because of contamination, there are some health issues because people don't bring back clean bottles, and so on and so forth. Which brought up the question, which I haven't answered yet because I just had recently the conversation. So how come it works in other states? Because there are 10 states applying this, and we say in Georgia that's not good enough for us. And what could we need to do? What would we have to do to make someone like Coca-Cola and the retailers engage in this process? So that's one step. And one thing is, if people like you go ask for it, and you don't ask us politicians, you ask your retailers, go to Walmart, go to Target, go to the big ones. We need to lobby the big ones until, you know what, you could set a precedent asking and promoting it, that we have bottle take-back programs in your stores so that we make sure that the Coca-Cola bottler gets back their bottles because they want them back. And by the way, Georgia is actually doing some good things. The recycled plastic from Coca-Cola goes into the carpet industry here. So most carpets you step on that are produced in Georgia probably have some Coca-Cola bottle in them. So gives you a new appreciation for your carpets, right? So, but it takes effort from the ground, and I truly believe grassroots is very important, makes a big difference. But we have to start asking the questions and making our demands. And this is where I think groups like Green Cell can really help driving the communication, driving the issue, driving the discourse. So that, because sometimes we don't know on the ground, we don't know what to ask. I mean, how many people really know where their recyclable goes? You throw it in the bin and off it goes. And that's another issue, and I learned this from Germany. The fact that we know things are recyclable gives those items like a better feel. So and then we throw it in the recycling and we feel good about ourselves. Oh, I recycled, I saved the planet. Yeah, we didn't, not yet. We need to do. But even with a plastic bottle that is recyclable, people use them and they feel less bad just throwing them in the trash. Because they think, oh, it's recyclable, so the idea that something is recyclable makes us feel less guilty about the things we throw away. That's a psychological issue we don't think about, but when I heard this, I said, that makes sense because it actually happened to me. So it is incredibly challenging, but we all as consumers and as citizens can drive change from the bottom. It will take time and effort, and we won't have solved the problem by next year. But I mean, you may remember the number by 2015, we will have more plastic in volume in the ocean than fish. That is a very, very scary number for us because the oceans are the source of life. They are they are the basic resource in our food chain, and we really need to make sure that we continue to work on having a planet for us and for our children, for our grandchildren and generations to come. And with that, I want to stop and just leave the floor open for some questions you may have. Yes, please. I'm actually working on that. I'm meeting with a gentleman from the Sierra Club, and it has a little bit to do with Georgia and the way we approach politics here. We like to say we are a state where we have companies and people take responsibility. We don't like to tell people what they do. The government shouldn't be doing this. I mean, this is a fairly conservative state still, and I think that is one of the reasons. The other is that retailers are not so too happy about that yet. I mean, there are discussions of pushing them in going back to paper bags. I remember when I came first to the US in the 80s, there were no plastic bags. You walked out, and if you remember the movies from the 60s, 70s, everybody came out with their paper bags, and that would still be a better option, but then the plastic bag industry, because they are so, it's a convenience issue. You just throw everything in these quick bags and off you go. So we're working on it. I know there are some states, but those are usually more states that are further ahead in conservationist efforts, like Washington, the state of Washington, and where else do they have? I think there are like 10 states who have ban of single-use plastic bags. We're working on that. The other thing I want to discuss, I haven't figured out which is the better one, is, for example, you can ban those, or you can put a price on it. I remember in Germany when we put a 10-cent price on plastic bags at the grocery store. Boy, was this quick when people brought their own bags. But that has other issues, because we also need to think about the populations that it would affect negatively, and so usually socially disadvantaged areas. So we kind of need to find a balance there, that we don't put people in peril that may have less access to other resources. So that's the political discussion we need to have in our committees, and I'm working on that, but I have no sure answer yet.
Thank you. There are some states that have a ban on the ban, so the plastic industry is lobbying at the state legislative level, and they are not letting cities or counties ban bags or put tax on it. Since you are in the environmental committee, is anything like that happening in Georgia?
I have not heard of it, but I know we're discussing all kinds of things. I know a few years, and I don't want to get it wrong, but actually there was an effort a few years ago from the Association of Chemical Products, which is actually the lobbyist group for the plastic bag industry. They were trying to push a law that would prohibit communities from banning plastic bags. And I know cities and counties still can do that, but I would prefer a statewide. Because I mean, what is it if we do it in one county and the other? I would like to see a statewide effort, either in pushing out those bags or putting a fee on it. But we are Georgia. It will take some time till we get there. But I think we should initiate the discussion. And here's what you do: write to your state legislators. Everybody knows who their state legislator is. I'm actually, by the way, I'm in Atlanta in the Gold Dome. I'm not in Washington, so I don't want to go there.
So I was talking to a friend this morning, and I mentioned about this event and how I'm going to attend this event. And then she immediately mentioned that, oh, our county, our city don't want to collect any wet trash anymore, and they're distributing these compost bins to every household. And so is that something that we're looking forward to doing in Georgia here?
Well, that is the direct result of the problem that China no longer takes recyclables. And so I think waste management is starting to do it in some counties, and that depends on your county, on your city. So every city or county has their different policies. And if it becomes too cost effective, then what they're basically doing is they're pushing back the recycling responsibility on the consumer, which is fine if we have means to collect that trash. We don't have the infrastructure really to collect it yet. Some counties may. I know Atlanta has a different policy than Fulton County, so it depends on where you live. I think that's the other thing. Go to your cities and communities and ask them how they do it and what you would like to see, how to improve it. But I would say, give your input, write to your city council members, write to your state legislators, and say, hey, I want Georgia to do this and this. Any other questions? Yes, please.
So I went to a restaurant recently, and they were serving everything in the styrofoam plates. And so I talked to the owner, right? And his answer was, "Oh, it's cheaper to buy these versus having a compostable plate option."
Yes.
So my question is, wouldn't it be if there was an incentive given to small businesses to go for a compostable like utensils option, they would definitely go for it, right? It's the example for why a lot of people started driving electric vehicles, because they were getting an incentive. So maybe that would be one approach to nudge them to actually change.
That would be something we definitely could discuss. I would have to talk to the Restaurant Association. They have some of their own ideas because the margins in that business are very, very small. So they're not too keen on changing anything, and every little dollar hurts them. But here's another thing where I would say, like, for example, we as consumers can do something if we go to a Starbucks or any other store and we consume in the store, make it a habit to ask for a reusable cup. There's no reason why we were in the store, we drink out of a plastic cup or a paper cup we throw away if we could use just a regular mug. And I know there's this new store new coffee shop in Johns Creek at McGinnis Ferry. Yes, and they use mugs, and then all of a sudden they were giving me these paper cups, and I asked, "Why you do this? You're using mugs?" He said, "Yeah, they were so high in demand that we went beyond capacity. Because you need to have enough mugs and you need to have a dishwasher who can handle the volume." So I think they upgraded because now they're starting giving out everything in mugs, because I talked to them and you just like, but it took them some time, and we are creatures of habit. We are so used to just go through the drive-through and pick up our cup and then we can throw it away. It's convenience, and we have to overcome our own convenience. And those of you who study habits, it takes about 3 weeks
21 days.
yeah, to change habits. So it starts with one thing. Maybe take the paper cup and then don't ask for straws anymore. Don't try to do it all at once. That's overwhelming. Any other questions?
So basically we are collecting we are maintaining the recycling pan, trash can at each and every house. So the trashing company collecting all the recyclables. So how much percentage it's getting recycled? I don't think 100% they do.
No, because a lot of it is contaminated. I think up to 30% is contaminated, and if it's contaminated, they can use it. There are certain things people still do. For example, they collect their recyclables commingled in a plastic bag and then throw the whole bag in the recycle bin. That contaminates. We were supposed to clean our aluminum bins, at least rinse them out, or they throw pizza boxes in there, or things like this, or boxes from milk cartons, you can't recycle those. So I think one of the reasons is that the way we identify, or we let people know that this is a recyclable good, is very confusing. So I have to look at the list, what is recyclable in my district, and I still haven't fully figured it out. So, and it changes from county to county too, and from state to state. So there is no unified system in, well, you can throw this in the recycle bin and this not. I think if we would go back to separating it, that probably would make it a little easier. So you know, this is aluminum, this is glass, this is plastic, and then you have plastic 1, 2, well, can we recycle 3 and 4 and 5 in this county? Maybe not. It might make it a little easier, but that would cost more space and effort at the source, mean our garages or basements or households or kitchens, wherever we collect them, and that causes other problems. The biggest problem goes back, we don't have the infrastructure. I would say about like 30, I cannot give you the right percentage. There are numbers, but I would have to go back. Do you know that? Do you happen to know how much actually from the recycles actually is?
So we have a session today in the end about recycling, and there is, it depends on the material. Metals get recycled more. So metals get recycled somewhere around 60 to 70%. Plastic is 9%. So everything gets recycled at a different rate. But what is happening and what has recently started happening is because of Asia not taking a lot of recyclable, lot of it is getting either lot of the recycling is either going in landfill or it's getting burned. So there are many states which are burning it to at least get some energy out of it, but again it has pollution consequences. So it depends on where you are and like what kind of material it is.
I have something to say.
Yes.
Every county has a website. You can go to your website and there is a list. What is recyclable and what not.
Yes.
So if you can go through the list, you can.
Every county has its
own website.
Yes.
And it's different to county and county.
Exactly. And
like
that
Forsyth doesn't take glass, but Fulton accepts glass.
still,
It's different.
yes,
Yeah.
but not every area in Fulton accepts glass.
And yeah, few areas.
So it is really confusing.
Yeah.
It's really confusing. The best thing is call your city and or look at your city website. They usually have the information that's true for your area. Anyway, I think I want to stop here because you have a lot of other things going on, and this is a fabulous workshop. And thanks again to Green Cell for putting it on. This is valuable information, and if you have further questions, I'll be around for maybe half an hour longer, but then I have to move on to the next thing. Thank you so much. Bye.
I mean, for making time and giving us all your insights on the political challenges. What? Can you hear me? Yes. As I said, thank you for making time and joining us and giving us all these valuable insights on how recycling is done in other countries as well as the political challenges that we face here. Just a small token from our Green Cell organization for...
Oh, thank you. This is so sweet. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is going to be Uma, and we're going to learn, hopefully, demystify composting. Okay. Me, myself, I've learned composting thanks to Uma. It's made a big difference, and I'm sure all of us here are going to really be rewarded by learning the intricacies of how to make this change happen.
Right.
Uma is... Yeah. I'm just going to give, while we set up Uma, I'm just going to continue talking and tell you a little more about our organization. And while we're waiting for Uma to help get set up with the composting and what she needs for it to explain to us, just a little bit more about our organization and about the agenda for today. We have, like I said, 4 sessions. Now, we have a few tables arranged on the sides. One is showing you exactly how products are not to be used in the plastic, one-time use plastics, and what changes we can make, what kind of products we can use. So feel free to walk around and look at those tables, some of you at the end of the session, so that while we are setting up. The other thing is, I'm glad to see many more faces and many more chairs filled out during the session that's happening. If you haven't registered, please go ahead to the back and just register your name so we can keep in touch and let you know about any future events that we're having. And if you want to join our organization and join our efforts, hold hands with us and move forward, most welcome. Reach out to us via our email and we'll get back with you. We have a one-on-one with all of you all. I mean, we have some sessions where we then tell you exactly our mission and if it lines up, then let's move forward together and make this change happen.
All right, good afternoon. It is wonderful to see so many people here having taken the time to come and hear about the garden, about composting, about cleaning liquids and so on and so forth. So I have time until 3, right? No, I have a high volume voice, you're clear. Once I have the mic, then this is the library. I have my voice booming all over. We don't want that. Yeah? So I think we're good. Thank you. Thank you for that, really. So I put together a little presentation because that's what Green Cell wanted me to do. Otherwise, as you would know, I would just keep talking. All right.
I'm sorry, I just removed it. 1 second.
No, I'm fine with it here. Yeah, it's absolutely good.
We just thought we'd put it near the table.
No, it's good. It's good, we're good here. All right. Okay. Typically when someone asks me about compost, they say, get us to the basics, brass tacks, what should I do? Yeah, what should I do? What's this, there is burnt and there is no smell and my husband doesn't like it. I hate that. I really would have liked more men here. They are the villains of the piece. The women want to compost and the men say, oh, it's messy. Yeah? It would be nice if there are, thanks to the men agreeing to come. Yeah, I'm very glad for it. Okay. So they want the steps. But I would want to start with the big picture. I can't help it, so you have to put up with that. Okay? There's one slide on the big picture, and I want to start there. Now, we have a problem as human beings in assuming, in chasing immortality. Right? The Egyptian civilization just obsessed with the pyramids and hoped that the pharaohs and their maids and servants and everybody had an afterlife, right? Now, we love this whole idea of immortal, right? But the basic principle, there's a beautiful, intelligent design of this earth. If we want to do anything green at all, we have to step back and understand that beautiful design. And what is that design? Mortality. So we cannot create stuff that won't die. Why are we struggling with plastic? We created something that won't die. Right? We love to create stuff that stands. Oh, my house will stay forever. I mean, this is a historical monument 3,000 years ago. I love what they did. I like the intelligence. But mortality, because that's the basic design of the earth where one organism works for the other. It's a beautiful design. I don't think the earthworm is, cares about whether, you got some great quality vermicompost. No. It is happily eating and pooping and living its life. But unfortunately for us, in the process, it creates beautiful soil. Right? The plants are not creating fruits and vegetables so that you and I can eat. There are people who are very generous and beautiful plants. No. They are intelligent beings that are propagating their species, filling up their seeds with sugar, coating it up with some nice stuff, so that the right animal comes and eats it, carries the seed, and puts it somewhere else. So all that effort is for the propagation of species, right? So every living being in this earth is working for the other, except us. Yeah? So everybody is working for the other. So every little, and the thing is that we're so obsessed with what we can see. The real work is done by billions of microorganisms, which we can't even see. So the whole grand design of life, right? So we have to get used to life. Will there be snakes? Will there be scorpions? The moment we see an insect, we have to kill it. We have to kill it. Now we have a basal instinct to kill it first, right? Such an atrocious thing to think about it, right? But then the idea really is that that's how life is. So there is life that comes up, eats, reproduces, sleeps, poops, helps somebody else. That's how life is. Every little thing around us. So the moment we fill the earth with non-living stuff, we create problems. Clothes that don't breathe, plastic that doesn't breathe, houses that will not decompose. Yeah, sturdy stuff, we have a problem. So composting is about recognizing this grand design and saying, I will be a part of this cycle of life, food and joy. It's beautiful. And if you're ready for that, then composting. Taking care of your trash. We cannot generate trash. It's simple. How can we generate trash? Think about it. Such an irresponsible thing to do, isn't it? I know it's a strong statement. We consume. How can we throw away stuff? So every one of you here should aim to have a zero trash home. Doable. I run mine. I generate no trash. None. I said nothing out. You can get there. If you take charge. Your problem, not somebody else's problem. That is why you should compost. Build your garden soil, beautiful. If you had compost, your plants love it. You can have a beautiful garden, you can grow flowers, you can have a better lawn, you can grow vegetables, all that, yeah? But subject to the grand design. This world is a world in which living beings help and support one another, feed one another, live and die meaningfully, right? There is no place for downcycling, doing things and then making it worse. I heard her say that, we converted plastic into carpet. Oh, my plants converted trash into a fruit. Who's doing better? Yeah? So we need to make it better. You can't find solutions in which, you consume something and keep downcycling and making it worse and worse, and then say, oh, this chair is made of consumed plastic. All right, so submit to the grand design. So that is where I'm leaving, all right? Okay. Now to how. Now to the how. There are billions of bacteria. Let's be thankful to them. We don't see them. Billions. This is finished compost from my garden. One spoonful of this will have 1 billion bacteria, which you can't see. That's another unfortunate part. What we can't see, we don't believe it, right? So there are vegetarians who will say, oh my God, we don't eat living things. Then you can't eat at all. Food is life stuff, right? So there's life everywhere. There is life all over, all around us, right? So this is like, this was once, some vegetable peel and stuff, and today it's compost. So be thankful for the bacteria. They digest everything. So what's their job? They're eating all their living time. Everybody, look at the living beings. They have a good time. They eat, they reproduce, and they sleep. We're working so hard, right? We are one of those beings that work very hard. So they digest everything. There are billions of bacteria all around. And for all those germophiles, there are germs and there will be a problem. All those germophiles, there's a beautiful principle in Earth. A principle that you and I must trust. Good ultimately triumphs. There are good guys, there are bad guys. Right? The right environment, clean place, the right environment, like how we bring children up. Right? There are streets we'll ask the children not to go, and there are places where we will say, oh, you go there and you will be fine. Right? So there are good and bad always in the earth. We can't have a place in which everything is nice. But if we create the right environment, the good will outnumber the bad. And what I have here is beautiful smelling. I encourage each one of you, leave it here, to go and smell this. Yeah? Beautifully generated compost. I did nothing. The bacteria did all the work. They do all the work. What is your job? Second one. Yeah, you can let it be, it's fine. 3 things. That's all you have to do. That's the gist of my talk. If you knew that, you knew everything. Food, air, water, basic stuff for all life. That's why I said the big picture. Understand life. Right? 3 things you have to ensure. So you have to help the bacteria by ensuring that they have food to eat, that they have air to breathe, and they have water to survive. You ensure these 3 things, your compost will get done by itself. Okay? Other organisms, so people have creepy crawlies and all. The problem is that you don't do it right sometimes. There's so much of moisture. Then the come in. They have to come. Mesothermic bacteria, as we call it, they are the kings. They will ensure that the final compost is powdery, dark, beautiful, smells fantastic. Right? That's all that remains. So all those creepy crawlies will also die and submit themselves to that order where they will contribute to the richness of that compost. So you will have, so if you don't like to see the creepy crawlies, don't open that lid and look in. Let them do their work. Is that right? I'll tell you the solutions as well. Okay? So every little thing that is there is working for you. So if you've thrown all kind of junk and rats have come in to eat that, because you've thrown some cheese, so they like to eat it. The whole world is about food. Please don't forget about it. Everyone around here, every life around you is looking for food. Looking for a mate, looking for food. It's all about food and love, right? That's why it feels so good about good food. So All these, so then you throw in cheese and then the rat comes and then chasing the rat, the snake comes. Oh, my compost is generating snake. You're not the snake's food, right? If you found a bear in your backyard or you found a tiger in your backyard, you should be very worried. You are its prey, right? Except the Sundarbans, nowhere in the world are even tigers known to be man-eating. You're still wondering why the Sundarban tiger is such a big man-eater, right? So there is nobody in your yard for whom you are the prey. What are you scared of? There's nothing out there that is out to eat you. So you just let it be. The snake will come and control the rodent population. And the way the food chain works is they will be there as long as there is food. If you didn't throw the cheese, there would be no rat. If there were no rat, there would be no snake. You can control it all. Yeah, I'll show you how. And everything turns to dirt. You, me, everything. All life, the plastic's in it. Okay. So these are 4 things that you should know. What is it? We all know that carbon is the building block, right? All the food, all the stuff that we eat has a lot of water, is that right? Different things are composed differently. The watermelon rind is different from the eggshell, which is different from the peel of cucumbers, which is different from the greens and all the things that we eat a variety of food, is that right? So we have different combinations. And then what do? They digest it, they digest the carbs, they digest everything, and then convert it into compost, right? So if you want to help them, you want to be able to normalize. You've thrown all kinds of things. You want to help normalize what you've thrown. How will you do it? Browns. So what is brown? You supply carbon. That is all you have to do. If you didn't do it, if you just threw trash there into the bin and it became a stanky mess, what has happened? The bacteria are trying their best, but they don't have a building material with which they can recycle that food. Is that right? So you will have to have, so all the trash that you generate, mostly in the kitchen, is green. The coffee, the tea, everything is green material. It's very nitrogenous. Is that right? So you want to be able to provide carbon to balance it. The nitrogen is called green and the carbon is called brown. So the first principle in composting is enough browns. I'll show you a whole list. All the junk mail that comes in your mailbox can be cut into fine pieces. Don't worry about glossy print and all, too much of hair splitting. It's all brown. Just clip it and put it in. Get a shredder, get big bags of shredded paper from your office, put it in the compost. Yeah, all those corrugated boxes that come in all the Amazon packing, please tear it to pieces, put it in the compost. They're all browns. They all have lignin, they all have cellulose, they will all help the bacteria that's trying to break down your kitchen waste. And there are people here who say, I can't get browns. In Atlanta, 52% trees. Every street I'm walking is filled with leaves, which are just collected and trashed. How what a tragedy. It's beautiful, organic, live material generated by nutrition drawn from the soil, energy got from the sun and the rain. It's a beautiful piece of life. But we don't care. We'll rake it and we will burn it or we'll throw it, trash it, fill it in bags and keep it outside. Please drive your car, collect those bags. Yeah, just collect them out of your neighbor's curbs and please use them in compost. Browns, without browns you will get no compost, you generate no compost, so you will have to get brown. Managing moisture, everything that you throw in trash generates so much of water. A lot of food is a lot of water. Right? So what happens when there's water? People say, why should I manage water? You must remember that if you have a pile and it is watery, what happens? There is no space for air. Get that? Every empty space there is occupied by moisture. Space for air. 2 days it will be absolutely fine because you want that moisture to be absorbed. No, so some people say, but my leaves have become wet. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. Just put them in, learn to manage moisture, which means enough moisture, because food, air, water, enough moisture to keep them alive. Don't let your compost become dry. Oh, nothing is happening. It's a dry pile with no water. How will there be any activity if there's no moisture, right? Your compost must have air, must have moisture, must have food. Then it works. So you must manage moisture. Aerobic anaerobic. You want to do a very good and quick job of composting. Put all your browns, put all your greens, and keep turning it and giving it attention. That's your aerobic process, which is like good bacteria which loves to breathe, right? Anaerobic is no breathing, no air. Is that right? So, smell test. Good composting process smells beautiful. There's no stench at all. There's a stink, handful of leaves. Yeah. So if there's a stink, then something is becoming anaerobic. There is no space for air. Is that right? But you don't feel like going and turning the pile, and you want to create a pile, let it be, works. It is going to take time. You start it now, your compost will be ready in spring. No problem. Just make sure that you added enough browns and kept some air circulation going. Don't compact it and make it into a airless liquid mass. Just build it such that there is a little bit of air, it will all be fine. So don't worry too much about turning. You want a quick result, you can turn. You don't want a quick result, you can wait. You can wait. And then stages. Bacteria work in various stages. Okay, there are bacteria that come in early stages, which will just disintegrate the stuff. There's bacteria that comes later, which digests all the proteins and carbs and lignin, everything that is there, and generates the final product, right? So there are various stages through which a compost goes. So don't throw trash today, open it and say, oh, it's not done. Yeah? Very quick compost will take 45 days. Quick fix. And the 24-hour compost is humbug. It is just shredding. There is no history of any microorganism doing any organic conversion in that time. It's just that your trash is shredded into very fine pieces and you're made dry, and you're led to believe that it is compost. Nothing has happened there. It's nicely shredded stuff. That's it. Yeah. So allow the time for it to happen. So this is the principles to matter. Now quickly to what should I do? Anywhere. That is a corner of my patio in which where my compost is standing. That is finished compost. Okay? So you want something which is closed, you can buy something like that. Okay, you can build a bin, you can build bins and create a cover shed. Why do you want to create a cover? You keep it open, it's too much of rain, it can get soggy and messy. Is that right? So if you keep it open and then on a rainy day you want to put in a tarpaulin, good, works. Or you find that it has become a soggy mess, you know what to do. Put in a huge pile of brown leaves, they will all settle down and become fine. Alright? So you can build a bin, you can build a shed, you can buy a bin, you can do whatever you want. You can use buckets, you can use drums. I have a friend who has converted her. People in Georgia use their swimming pool for about 5 days a year. Yeah, so I encouraged her to convert it into a composting area because she has a huge number of leaves. So I said, just rake them all in there. She got a fantastic pile of compost in spring. Fantastic. The bacteria will do the work. You don't have to do anything. Right? You just have to understand how the process works. That's it. I'm hoping that I'm helping you understand this. So you can use an old bucket, you can use anything. Anything that holds material. Or if you don't have anything, you just put stuff in a corner of your garden. It will all work. Right? It will all get decomposed because everything ultimately has to return to dirt. Whether you like it or not, it will all return to dirt. If you want it to be a clean, neat process and you don't want it to be messy and all of that, then what is it that you'll do? You'll create a bin with a cover, right? You will create something in which you can keep adding stuff. You can use your your old trash bin. You can use any of it. Now there is a friend who said, oh, I used an old trash bin and I put stuff there, but it is smelling. What was the problem? You floating that bin that I had. I had that bin because it has a nice lid and it rotates. It helps me to aerate my composter very easily. So I put all my kitchen waste into that. I have 3 or 4 composting setups, but that bragging for much later. What can you add? You say, can I compost? Oh, bits of hair, nails when you clip. Anything that has once lived will decompose. Anything can put into compost. What is it that you, so all scraps, right? What about cooked food? The problem with cooked food is that the cellular structure has been damaged so much that it is completely mushy and compacted. You get it? You can still put cooked food once you've mastered composting. You know, you will mix it up nicely with crushed leaves. You will ensure that it is all nicely disintegrated and then put it. You can't pour half a pail of sambar in your compost and hope that everything is going to be fine. Right? Too much moisture, too much compaction. And then there is somebody who says, I grind everything into the mixer. Fantastic. You have killed all air spaces. You will just get mush. Right? You can cut your compostables into bits. You have to ensure air between the pieces, right? So you can't grind it in the mixer and make a juice and then say, I grind it in the mixer and I put the juice to the plants. Very good. Because all those animals, that bacteria that will come and eat the stuff, will come now and eat all of this, and the plant will not know what to do with what's happening around its feet. Oh, my plant is very happy. Ultimately, it will decompose. Right? Ultimately, but you're not helping anyone there, trying to grind it. And there are people who will collect all the trash and refrigerate it. I'll come to that point. So, don't pulverize, cutting into small bits, throwing an entire watermelon, it will compose. It's a good product. What is it that you want to do? While you're chopping vegetables, just chop your scraps too. Make it a habit. Take a minute to just chop them off into little bite-sized pieces. You don't have to make it into fine shreds, right? Instead of throwing the whole watermelon peel, and you're good. Everything will be fine. Now, this is your list of browns and greens. I'm just going to quickly read browns: dry leaves, straw, hay, shrub prunings, pine needles, pine cones, chopped twigs, chopped branches, wood ash, newspaper, shredded paper, cardboard, corn cobs, dryer lint, natural fibers. I don't know whether that's any true at all here, right? Everybody wears synthetic hair. Yeah? Sawdust, eggshells, brown paper bags, anything which has had cellulose. For those of you. Now, people say, oh, this is all very technical. You ask a mother to talk about, allergies and common colds. Imagine how technical her conversation will be. Yeah? You care for trash, you will learn this technicality, right? So there is cellulose and lignin, which are building materials and carbon. So you want stuff that has building material, that has carbon, all right? Green, table scraps, food scraps, vegetable scrap, grass clippings. Oh, can I add grass? Live stuff, right? It lived. It will compost. Oh, but my grass has become hot and it's become a mess. Yes, because it's very fine and you threw the entire pile into compost. There's no space for air. Separate them out a little bit, fluff them up, add a little bit of brown leaves. I'm repeating myself, right? So it's actually simple. And put it, it'll get decomposed, right? If you sprayed it with nonsense, you can't compost it. Let me remind you this. So all the weed killer and pesticide and because you want a lush, green, nice. We must be the only country that's growing lawns of grass, investing in fertilizer and water and everything, which no one eats. If we had, a set of cows and goats coming and eating the grass, all that effort is beautiful, right? But we have this thing, it looks very beautiful. Yeah, I have a problem with that, which is why for a profession here, I don't charge for it, I convert lawns to food gardens. Please convert a part of the lawn into a place where you can grow good, organic, healthy food for yourself and your children. You want to do it? I'll come and do it for you free. And any one of you wants to set compost, you have a problem, you want troubleshooting, I'll come and help and set you up. But you must continue, okay? You can't give up. Okay. Flowers, seaweed, chicken manure, coffee grounds, tea leaves, hedge clippings, garden waste, fresh leaves, they're all greens. So everything that has lived at some point in time can be composted. So please do not allow all these things to get out of your kitchen and go into trash. It's a pity that this goes into trash. Just don't let that happen. She was talking about contamination, right? There's milk inside the milk can. Just rinse it and put it into the compost bin right there. There's so much of food there. It's 1 spoon of milk for you. Imagine for these little microbes. It is milkshake. Yeah? Make it available. Yeah?
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
When you said like meat, is it like...
I'm going to come to that. I'm going to come to that. Now, milk meat. Good that you pointed out. I was just going to miss that. Now, what happens if you put cheese and milk and meat? It is somebody else's food. The bacteria love it, but the rodents love it more. The raccoons will smell it out. See, some food will putrefy before it decomposes. Milk is one of those. They will putrefy. So
You cook or uncook?
you can add anything. You can add raw meat, you can add cooked meat, you can add all of that once you've mastered composting.
Once you master.
You add it right at the start, you will have rats and then you will have snakes and then the husband will say, you cannot compost anymore. Yeah? So please start with kitchen scraps. Please start with kitchen scraps. You can add meat, you can add all of this stuff in moderate quantity. You can't keep buying cheese hoping that you will consume the entire block and keep throwing it every other day. Yeah? It has to be a nice variety, balanced stuff. Right? So you can't. So you can throw all of them. You can throw meat, you can throw. Ensure that your bin is covered if you did this. If you have an open bin and you throw fish and meat into it, food. You must remember that the whole world is about food. There are animals out there looking for food. So if you create a buffet in your backyard, they will come there to eat it. They will go away. They will correct your mistake. You threw a meat into the compost bin, the raccoon came and helped you out. You're not going to look at it like that. Oh my God! There are raccoons. Yeah? So you have to get used to the...
You throw in all your cooked food there?
I'll come to
curries
food. She's
and
very
stuff.
persistent.
No,
I'll answer the question. Now, cooked food. Why are you throwing cooked food for God's sake? Why are you throwing it? Ask that question first. Eat the food. Right?
Right.
Learn to control quantities.
I know,
Don't
but
cook for
children-
okay? I'm being very,
Yeah, it happens when we have kids.
Yeah, okay. So now the point is, can you throw cooked food? Yes, absolutely. I answer that question. How are you going to throw cooked food? Take it in a big bowl. Take a lot of browns. Mix it up thoroughly so that you're not throwing cooked food and creating a anaerobic condition in your compost bin. Is that right? Now, cooked food will spoil faster than uncooked food. The bacteria loves to eat it, but what is it that will happen? I told you this. The cellular structure has been broken.
Right.
Cooked food is a mush, so it won't have air spaces. Which is what I said. You know, sometimes in a long talk it happens. I was talking about half a kilo of sambar. That's what I meant. So you can throw the leftover biryani into the compost bin with the chicken and lamb pieces and all. Ensure it is nicely covered and camouflaged so that the smells don't reach your critters. Cover it up nicely. Cover it up nicely. Ensure that your bin is tightly closed. They're going to be fine. They will all get decomposed, right? You can throw cooked food. Now, balance. You cannot have a situation in which on an everyday basis you're generating 2 pounds of kitchen scraps and 6 pounds of cooked food that you're throwing because the kids didn't eat it. Nothing will happen in your compost because cooked food will also cool the compost down. You get it? Composting works on a principle of heat. So if you have too much of cooked food, the temperatures in the compost pile will drop. Is that right? So next day buy some watermelons and ensure that you have balanced it out. You must learn to balance out what you're throwing into the pile. So don't put too much of the same thing. Right? Just like how you have your compost bin is an indication of how much variety you have in the food that you're eating. Yeah, you're eating a variety of food, your compost will also be eating a variety of food. Garbage in, garbage out, ultimately, right?
Right.
So you can throw. So simple answer to the question, you can throw cooked food.
Yes.
Make sure that you don't throw too much of it. Make sure that you have thoroughly mixed it with browns. One portion of cooked food. Now people always say, Uma, you can't say esoteric things. Say clear things, actionable. One portion of cooked food, 10 portions of brownies.
Yeah, there you go. Got it here.
Okay? Alright. Now there are people who will collect with the intention to compost. And there will be a pile that is rotting in one corner of the kitchen, in a bin. The husband will ask, what to do with it? Can I throw this? No, I'm composting. But it is there in the corner. The problem is, food will start decomposing in 20 minutes flat. 20 minutes. Thumb rule again. You have sliced something, 20 minutes, the decomposition process will start. So, I was telling you about this, right? There are phonetics that refrigerate trash, scraps. They will put everything in a bag and keep it in the refrigerator, and when they're ready to compose, they will take it. I don't want that OCD from you, right? I'm not advocating that. But I'm saying, keep keep the process simple. Keep a nice little table bin with a lid. Put some brown leaves at the bottom of it. In case you are delayed, the composting process happens there, and at least it's not stinking, right? So keep a nice table bin in your kitchen in which you're throwing everyday trash, and please locate your compost bin close to the house. If it is half a mile away at the end of your yard, there is no possibility that you will carry one more portion of brown so that you kind of nicely camouflaging it. The brown has to lie along with the trash.